guys, my name is Margaret. I'm one of the dietitians over at Rex Bariatrics. And today I'm here to make you chicken carnitas with taco roasted cabbage. So this is a great meal to meal prep and serve up and heat up for lunches through the rest of the week. So the first thing I want to do is I want to assemble my ingredients. So first I have 1 pound of chicken breast, and you can use chicken thighs if you prefer. I have 1/4 of a cup of low sodium chicken broth, 3 cloves of garlic. I have my 2 tablespoons or 1/8 of a cup of lime juice. I have my seasonings already mixed together. So all mixed together, I have 1/2 tablespoon of cumin, 1/2 tablespoon of oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, and you can feel free to add more if you want a little bit more spice, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And same thing with that, you can add more black pepper if you want to add a little bit more spice. Now the final 2 ingredients I have are my onions that I'm going to chop 1/2 of an onion in front of you, and then I also have an orange that I'm going to juice in front of you. So first thing, let's actually go ahead and start cutting our onion. So the first thing with an onion that I always like to do is I like to cut off the tip of it. So we want to keep the root intact because that's what prevents the other onion half from drying out in the refrigerator. So I'm going to cut the tip off the onion, and then I'm going to go ahead and discard that into my garbage can. Now that gives us a nice flat surface. So I can automatically put that flat surface down, cut the onion in half like that. So once again, I have another flat surface. So I'm going to put this 1/2 an onion aside. Now I'm going to take off the outer skin of the onion, the papery stuff that's not really edible, doesn't really cook up. So we want to make sure we throw that out. And then with the flat side down, we're going to make little lines running against the rings of the onion. Run kind of horizontally with the onion. Next, we're going to take our knife and we're going to hold the onion together and cut through the top half and the bottom half. And then we're going to cut in line with the onion. So we're actually going to cut like that, and as it falls out, you see we have little tiny diced up onion. So I'm going to use that. So we have 1/2 an onion all chopped up right here. Let me push that aside on my cutting board. Now we need to juice an orange. So anytime we juice citrus, whether it's an orange, whether it's a lemon, whether it's a lime, the first thing you actually want to do is you want to roll it on your counter and kind of press out some of the juices. That allows the cells of the orange to actually release that juice. That's going to make it easier on you for the juicing process. So now we're going to cut it in half. Voila, 2 halves of an orange. I'm going to set 1/2 aside because I think we'll only need 1/2 of an orange. We need 2 tablespoons of juice, but we do have the other half just in case. Of an orange is exactly 1/8 of a cup or 2 tablespoons of orange juice. So now we have all that together. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to set aside my cutting board. And the next thing we want to do is actually take our chicken. We're going to take it out of the package and we're going to pat it down. So we're just patting the extra juice on the chicken breast. Of the seasoning on this top side of the chicken. And what we're basically doing is creating a dry rub. So I'm just going to rub this into the chicken. And then we're going to flip it over and do the exact same thing on the other side. So this recipe does use an Instant Pot for the fastest method of cooking. And so first we're going to actually brown the chicken. And to do that, we're going to use the saute function of the Instant Pot. So the saute function is actually its own button that says saute. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. You can also adjust the temperature. So right now I'm going to put it on normal, but as it gets hot, I oftentimes turn it down to less because it does get very hot very quickly. Let's go ahead and put it saute normal. Now we're gonna add the olive oil to make sure the chicken doesn't stick. So I am measuring my olive oil. We have 1/2 of a tablespoon of olive oil. Don't forget, it is so important to always measure our oils when cooking. Every teaspoon of oil, whether it's a healthy oil like olive oil or an unhealthy oil like coconut oil, every teaspoon of oil is 45 calories and about 5 grams of fat. Next, we're gonna brown the chicken. So now that we've added the olive oil, it's heating up, we're going to put in the chicken. So we will have to do this in batches. Please do not overcrowd your Instant Pot. And so we're going to put it down face down. We're gonna let that brown on each side. Once the chicken starts to develop a nice sear on one side, so you can see this one is starting to get a nice sear on it, we're gonna flip it over and allow the other side to develop that sear. Once we develop a nice sear on each side, I'm gonna remove the chicken from the Instant Pot, put it on a different clean plate, and then I'm going to add the other chicken in. This cooks very quickly. The Instant Pot gets very hot in saute mode. It's probably only gonna be about 30 to 45 seconds to develop a sear on each side. And remember, we're not trying to cook the chicken through all the way. That's why we pressure cook it. Right now, we're just trying to develop some texture on the chicken. All right, so we have all 4 of our chickens. They have developed a nice sear on each side. We've removed them from the Instant Pot. The Instant Pot is very hot at this point, so I'm actually gonna decrease the saute temperature. So to do that, I'm going to hit cancel, I'm going to hit saute again, and then I'm going to adjust it down to that less level. And now I'm going to add some oil. So again, we're measuring out exactly half of a tablespoon of oil. And I'm gonna drizzle that into my Instant Pot. And once we've added the oil, we're going to add the onion that we chopped up a little bit earlier. So half of the onion goes in there. You can hear that nice sizzle. And this is going to cook for about 2 minutes, possibly a little bit faster, because like I said, the Instant Pot does get pretty hot. Once you add the garlic, you are going to saute for about 20 seconds while the garlic gets fragrant. Once the garlic is nice and fragrant, we have some browning starting on the onions. We're going to actually deglaze the pot. So we're adding in about 1/4 of a cup of low sodium chicken broth. What that's going to do is that's going to get up all the brown bits left over from the chicken. Here's where we're adding in 1/8 of a cup or 2 tablespoons of lime juice. And we are adding in our 2 tablespoons or 1/8 of a cup of freshly squeezed orange juice. Once that comes to a simmer, we are good to add our chicken. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press the cancel button. So now that is off. And I'm going to put on the lid. So with the Instant Pot, it makes music when you're doing the right thing. So to lock the Instant Pot, that sound means that it is unlocked. That happy sound means that it's locked. So we are going to hit pressure cook, and mine is actually an older version of the Instant Pot, so my button is actually going to be manual. So I'm hitting the manual button, and using these plus and minus signs, we can adjust the time. So for chicken breasts, we're gonna actually let this cook for 10 minutes. If we were using chicken thighs, we would want to do 12 minutes. And if you're using frozen chicken breasts, you wanna do close to 12 or 13 minutes. So we're gonna set that for 10 minutes. That button or that beeping means that it is starting to come to pressure. Now the other thing we always wanna check with our Instant Pot, we always wanna come up to this knob on top. This knob lets us know if it's sealed or if it's venting. To come to pressure, it has to be on sealing. And so with an Instant Pot, it does take about 15 to 20 minutes to come to pressure. So remember, it's not going to be quite as instant as we wish it was. So this is a great time to start cooking our side dish, which is gonna be our taco roasted cabbage. So I have a head of purple cabbage. I prefer purple cabbage over green cabbage. I just think it caramelizes better. That's just my personal preference. So I purchased purple cabbage for this recipe, but if you want to use green cabbage, go right ahead. And we're gonna start thinly slicing that. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take off the outer leaves of the cabbage. Throwing those out. And then we're gonna thinly slice our cabbage. So the way that I like to thinly slice is that I like to go at angles. So I'll start by going at this angle. You can see it's coming off really thin, which is perfect. And once that angle starts to get a little bit too deep into the cabbage, then I kind of flip and go the other side, so kind of making a V. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna give us really thinly sliced, even pieces of cabbage. So for this recipe, we need about 4 cups of thinly sliced cabbage. So let's see how much we have at this point. So my oven is preheated to 425. My Instant Pot is waiting to release its pressure, which is gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes. Now it's time to start cooking my cabbage. So I sliced my cabbage thinly, I rinsed it, I let it dry, and I also used a paper towel to dry it a little bit. So now we're going to roast the cabbage. And so this thinly sliced cabbage I'm going to put onto a baking sheet. On this baking sheet, you want to either put down silicone liners or put down parchment paper. That's going to be the easiest cleanup. Spreading the cabbage out on my baking sheet. Next, I'm going to use my olive oil spray, and I'm going to spray the cabbage with the olive oil so it gets nice and crispy, and it also allows the seasoning to stick. Speaking of, for seasoning for this cabbage, we have 1.5 tablespoons of low sodium taco seasoning. This is just your standard McCormick's or Old El Paso or any other taco seasoning you can find at the store. I got the lower sodium option just so that we could save us some salt in this recipe. So we have 1.5 tablespoons of that. I'm going to evenly sprinkle the 1.5 tablespoons of taco seasoning over the cabbage. And then we are going to pop this in the oven for 20 minutes. And we're gonna wanna check it halfway through and flip it over, adjust it, rotate it so it gets evenly brown. All right, so our chicken is done. It actually, the pressure came back down around the 10-11 mark, so it didn't take nearly as long as I thought. And you know that because when you play with the sealing valve, no air comes out. So that means we can open the top. There's our sound letting us know that it's open. And we can remove the lid. And now it's time to shred the chicken. So there is still a lot of juice left over in there, so we're gonna remove the chicken. And we're going to slice it up on our cutting board. All right, so our chicken is nicely shredded. Our cabbage is out of the oven, has a nice caramelization, nice crispiness to it. So now it's time to actually prep this into meals for the week. So what you can do is you can measure out the cabbage in 1/2 cup servings and the chicken in 1/4 cup servings. So the chicken makes about 5 1/4 cup servings, which is just gonna be about 2 ounces of protein. If you wanted to do a little bit closer to 3 ounces of protein, you could definitely do about 1/3 of a cup and maybe get 4 servings of the chicken. So we're gonna work with just 1/4 a cup of the chicken. So I have 1 meal that I'm prepping for lunch tomorrow. I have 1 meal I'm prepping for my dinner right now. So 1/4 a cup of chicken into the bowls. And then we're gonna have the cabbage. So the cabbage, we're gonna have 1/2 cup serving since it is a cooked vegetable. And then we are ready. So to serve this, you could put fresh cilantro on top. Maybe you could put a dollop of unflavored Greek yogurt acting as a sour cream substitute. Maybe a little bit of low-fat shredded cheese. And like I said, it's great to use this chicken for a lot of different options. So you could put this into a chili. You could put this on top of a salad and have a taco salad. You could have it in lettuce wraps and have chicken carnitas lettuce wraps. So there's a lot of different things. And you can by all means double this recipe. It takes the same amount of cooking time, just double the ingredients and freeze half of it for in the future. So the chicken is gonna freeze really nicely. Cabbage, not gonna freeze quite so well, so that is something that can last in the fridge for about 2 to 3 days after cooking, but it's not going to freeze well. But I hope you like these recipes. They're pretty easy, not very many ingredients, can make lunches for the entire week, and they sure taste good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you.